Thank you, Joseph, and thank you for inviting us as well to talk about Nook and what we've been working on. What I'll do is I'll explain a little bit, and then I'll give you a very quick tour of it. I'm not the product lead on the product. I can answer a few of the questions, but Ben is certainly able to answer a lot of the. If there are any questions about like the technicalities or the case or how it works and things like that, I'll defer to Ben. And also, Ben, if I miss out anything, like please jump in. This is one of the first presentations that we've done of it, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm a little bit rough around the edges. Um, but basically, Nook CRM, it's a project that's funded by the Energy Savings Trust. So we won a grant from them to develop an open source CRM. And we're really, you're right, Joseph, it's for energy advisors specifically, and certainly for organizations that maybe are doing without a CRM at the moment, they're using spreadsheets and so on. And they're sort of struggling and things are kind of creaking because the caseloads are getting quite high at this point. Equally, it's for organizations who may be trialing a CRM or have a CRM at the moment, but they're finding it a little bit not exactly fit for purpose. Um, so we've done the majority of the design and development, and we are going to be doing a little bit more and then opening it for a pilot phase in the new year. And so we'll be inviting organizations just to trial it on a specific project or multiple projects. And then we'll be hopefully taking it forward and launching it properly. And at that point, it will be open source. And the idea is that organizations can set up their own version of it, or alternatively, Outlandish can set up a version for it, unique just for you, and host it ourselves. I'm going to show you the CRM. It's a bit of a work in progress, and I'm going to show you a development site. So there may be a few things which are a little bit slower, or little things which aren't completely finished yet. So bear with us. Let me see if I can share my screen. And the one thing I didn't say was it's built on CiviCRM, so that powers it underneath. So it's completely open source software there. So if you have like CiviCRM developers and you want to take it further, that would be absolutely fantastic. Right. Let me see if I can do this. Okay, I think I'm sharing. Can you see this? Okay, so oh, and one more thing I didn't say. I told you I was a bit rough around the edges on this first presentation. If you want to find out more about the project, you can go to nookcrm.com, where we have a lot of other material that you can read about, because we're doing all our learnings are being pushed out in the open. So everything that we learn about the project, what are the risks about taking on a CRM project, what are typical things that you want to consider if you're building a CRM or having an off-the-shelf solution, you can read about all this stuff here. So whatever, even if you don't want to use Nook, hopefully you'll get something useful for your own CRM projects. So this is the dashboard screen. So once you open up Nook and you log in, you essentially see a little dashboard of the things, the tasks, and any updates on particular cases. I'm not going to dwell here very much because it's at the moment there's other more interesting things I want to show. But you can see that today there's a number of activities that are scheduled for me to do some various phone calls with some various cases. I get a little bit of a view of what's coming up. And I can also see like there's some updates on particular cases where I may be the case owner. But the thing I really wanted to dive into was the case overview. So this is one of the main areas of Nook. So here we have a big table of all the live cases that we have at the moment. So essentially it's like a view of a database. We have the client names, who is the owner on the team, who's responsible for that, where they are in that case journey with us, whether it's the first contact, or you're arranging a house visit, or you're implementing measures, or you're doing feedback surveys, and so on. You can also see the projects and a number of other bits of information. And all of this stuff is filterable. So you can like filter by projects, you can filter by who's the owner. So I can just dive into, let's say, here's a project, and it will return the people who belong to this project. And one thing I will say is all of this is configurable. So we have spoken in the course of this project to a lot of energy advisors, managers at organizations. We've spoken to people who've built CRMs, and they've really helped us understand like the level of flexibility that a CRM needs. That's kind of fed into this project, and we've kind of given a sort of default setup for new users. But a lot of these things are completely configurable, such as, for instance, the case journey that a, a client might move through with your organization. If you have a different setup, you can change that. And I'll put a pin on that, and I'll come back to that a little bit later. So we have this case overview. We also have a waiting list overview, which is something similar. So this is an area where clients who've come in, particularly by maybe they filled out a form on your website, or they've gone to an event, or there's been a phone call, and they haven't really been triaged yet by your organization. They can sit here and wait to be sort of triaged and allocated to a case owner. There's one other thing I would like to show you, which is back on the case overview. So you can see this table view that we have here. One of the things that we've been exploring, we heard a lot that managers like a sort of overview of where cases are in their case journey. So we have this Kanban view or card view. So here you can see the actual sort of top level view of the customers as they move through your case journey. And these essentially, each card represents a customer. And as they move through, you can see how they're doing and basically how the flow is, I suppose, the pipeline of working with customers. And once again, all of these steps are configurable. You can add steps in, you can take steps out, you can rename them, and so on. I'm going to go into a particular case just to show you. So here we have Rose. Let's just open her up. So when you're looking at Rose, you have all the sort of the client details. So we have all the person information, the personal information, the address information, the household details, a number of different fields here you can see. And once again, we have some default fields that come out of the box, but you can add your own fields. You can choose the kind of fields. So if you're doing a different kind of work and you have some specific questions that you have on a particular project, you can add in some multiple fields and make them conditional, whether they're required or not, and so on and so forth. So here we have some, EPC ratings, number of bedrooms, and who the gas supplier is, and a link to an EPC, all that sort of stuff. And also we have information whether they've signed consent forms and so on and so forth. The other thing you've probably seen at the top, which I scroll past, is once again, we have that card view. So as you have a customer who's working with your organization, you can see their progress. And the idea is that this particular person's in the first contact. So they've just, maybe they've reached out and you've responded to them. There are some things that you've done, an eligibility assessment, and next we're going to do a house visit, so we can see that this is a task that's sort of scheduled, and then there may be some other tasks that come up and move along. And as a case moves through this journey, and so if Rose moves into, say, the measure started step of their work with you, then there'll be some tasks that are pre-populated. So as soon as that card moves into this column, there may be a number of other things that, like checking the radiators and the boiler, or give particular advice, or phone the council, or whatever it may be. So it's automatically populate some tasks for you, so you know what the steps may be that come up. And once again, those are configurable. You can choose which tasks are relevant for your work on this project. The other thing I will just show here is we can see that there's notes. So we hear a lot about like having a place to discuss a particular case. So you can see there's a conversation between two people here. There's myself and the admin, and you can see that you can ask questions about anything that you need to know. You can keep notes on that particular case. You can share images. You can upload media, and all these notes are searchable. So if you want to find something in particular about that case, you can search in the notes and then it pulls it up for you as well. And you can also filter the notes as well by if they relate to a particular step, if notes were added at a particular step. And you can drill down. I won't show you this just for the sake of time, but you can drill down into each of these steps and you can see the information that you need to supply at that step, or the various kind of extra information that you want to add. And I'm going to move on to the reporting. So here we have the reporting screen, and because the reporting needs are very, very complicated, I think one thing that we've heard in our discussions and workshops with people is that every funder has different reporting requirements. Every organization does reporting in different ways. Essentially, what we've decided for this first version that we want to release is that we will make all of the data exportable and downloadable. And that will allow people to actually work with the data in Google, in a Excel or a spreadsheet tool, and manipulate it and visualize it however they want. Broadly, though, we have two kinds of reporting. We have a case level. So here you can see there's a big table of all the cases, and every field that you ask of a case, even if it's a custom field or default field, they all get exported. So here we have a huge table which generates with a lot of data, and you can take that away and filter it in your own software spreadsheet tools. So we have that at the case level. And then we also have at the task level. So if you want to see, maybe you want to generate a particular report on the kind of one particular kind of measure, for instance, it's all done at the task level as well. So you can run an export here. I don't have a lot of data in this test version, I'm afraid, but you get the idea. So maybe I can do an export of all the people on a particular project who have had an in-person visit, for instance. As I say, this is like a very sort of base level. So what we want to do is once the pilot starts, is that we want to allow organizations to use this and then learn from them what's reporting needs that they have and what would be beneficial. Some number of things we've already heard, for instance, some top line metrics to see, just some call out metrics, just so we can actually see like the performance of the organization or how many people are moving through the project, for instance. Equally, it's not very hard for us to plot these on a map. So, at a manager's level, to see where a particular project is getting traction and getting cases, and which areas are not being served very well by a project, and maybe some more efforts should be there. So plotting out that kind of information, we've heard those needs. And I'd be very curious actually, on this call, if anyone has got any particular needs, to get any thoughts, that would be very welcome. And of course, yes, you can filter by all the projects, you can filter by steps, you can filter by date and time, date ranges, and so on and so forth. And the last thing I'll show you, just because I'm a little bit aware of time, is the settings. So I talked about the configurability of Nook. You can do a number of things here. So first of all, you can obviously manage your users and set their permissions. We've got staff level, we've got administrator level, and you can create users and edit them and so forth. But the other thing, which I think is very, very powerful, is that you can configure how your organization works. So during the pilot, what we'd like to do is set this up for each organization, because I'm sure each organization has a different workflow. But if you wanted to go in and edit it yourself, you can go in here and you can see the different steps that we've put in. So we've got, waiting list, first contact, customer engaged, measure started, so on and so forth. You can drag and drop and move these around and create a different sort of those columns and that flow. Also, you can open them up and you can see the default measures here. So hopefully you can see this on my screen, it's a bit small. Within the measure started step, we have a number of tasks, which are the automatically generated ones, such as plan the measures at home, or send next steps, or implement measures, and so on, or send a survey, and so on. So you can add multiple steps in here, you can remove steps, you can change the order, and so on. And so when a case moves into this part of their journey, it generates that list of, these are the steps that need to be considered or not. And the other main thing I'll just very quickly show you is what you can configure each of your projects. So each project has different questions that you might ask of your cases. So here I can see that a number of projects that this test organization has, and I can go into a project and edit it. And here I have a little basic information, and I can see the kind of fields which are being asked. There's not a lot in here, but I can add new fields. Oh, that's not necessarily a good example. So let's say this particular project, there's a number of fields that I might want to apply. Here are some that's been generated already, such as the number of bedrooms, number of occupiers, and so forth. Or I can create a new field, and then it will open up a form which allows me to choose what kind of field is it. Is it a single line of text? Is it a multiple response or is it choose from a list of options? So you might have a list of partner organizations that you might want to refer a vulnerable resident onto. So you could create an extra field for this project, and then choose the options and create that list of partner organizations, and then apply it to that project. And so then these fields will appear on that case record when you go into a particular case. It will, it'll give you those options, and you can gather that data as well. I think I might pause there because I am conscious of time. But that's essentially where we are at the moment. We have a little bit of additional development to do, and then in January we're launching a sort of 5-6 month pilot phase. We're having a call in a couple of weeks for any organization that are interested in being involved on it. But I think I shall pause there, and I might defer to Ben for a second to see if there's anything in particular that, Ben, that you'd like to add that I've missed out, really.
Um, I don't think there's anything yeah, no, I think that's pretty good overview, Rich.
Not too shabby, yeah?
You can try searching, but
Ah,
it's sort of dangerous, as you say, on the search on the screen. But yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good overview.
well, actually, that's a good point about the search. So one of the things we heard a
Can
lot
you
was
remember the postcode of any of your clients? That's your test
let's
clients.
give it a go. Okay, let's get this go. Oh, no, maybe I can't remember the postcode. But one of the things that Ben and the team have been working on is quite a powerful search that searches within all of the fields of the record, I think. So you can search by name, obviously, but also postcode and address and so on and so forth. And maybe if we keep on developing it post pilot, we want to make this sort of search very, very flexible, because we did hear a lot of, spelling differences or expectations of how, say, surnames may be spelt might be different from the reality. So some sort of fuzzy search in there is quite useful.
Great. Thanks very much, Richard.